Morning. Amazon. Flash briefing.
Jamie, getting your flash briefing. In NPR News.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. Stocks opened lower this morning after a surprisingly big jump in January jobs. NPR's Scott Horsley reports the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell about 170 points in early trading.
Is it really?
U.S. employers added a whopping 517,000 jobs in January, far more than forecasters were expecting.
Added
And
jobs?
the
That
unemployment
doesn't mean
rate fell
people
to its
work
lowest
in it.
level since 1969. An annual update to the jobs tally, using more complete information, also shows hiring was even stronger in past months than initially reported, with more than 12 million jobs added over the last 2 years. Average wages in January were up 4.4% from a year ago, which is a slightly smaller annual increase than the month before. The Federal Reserve worries that wages are still climbing at a rate that could put upward pressure on prices, making it harder to bring inflation under control.
It's only greater than it was a year ago.
All of New England is under wind chill warnings. National Weather Service lead forecaster Bob Oravec says the frigid weather will bring the coldest wind chills in decades to the Northeast.
The worst part of this upcoming cold snap is going to be the winds. That's going to produce some pretty low wind chill. Wind chill values on Saturday across the Northeast are going to be anywhere from 20 to 30 degrees below zero.
There are additional wind chill advisories up from the Dakotas to Michigan. Meanwhile, the South is still struggling to recover from this week's huge ice storm. The tracking site poweroutage.us says 250,000 customers in Texas still don't have electricity. More than 50,000 power customers are in the dark in Arkansas. China has released a statement on a surveillance balloon that has been floating high across the continental U.S. The Chinese Foreign Ministry says the orb is a balloon that is being used for civilian weather and other scientific purposes, not for spying. The statement says it strayed off course. The Pentagon says a balloon is not a hazard to planes, and it cannot collect any more information than satellites do. European Union leaders are meeting in the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv, today and tomorrow. They're discussing that country's application to join the EU. NPR's Yulian Haida reports.
Ukrainian and EU leaders have been meeting regularly for these summits since the 1990s. But this is the first time a summit is taking place with Ukraine as an official candidate to join the EU. And they're meeting in Kyiv amid the sound of air raid sirens, in a reminder that the country is still very much at war. Ukraine is expected to show the Europeans how much progress they've made on a 7-point checklist of anti-corruption and judicial reforms before they're able to join the EU. The last 2 weeks in Ukrainian politics have been marked by several high-profile investigations and dismissals. Meanwhile, the EU is expected to offer hundreds of millions of euros worth of military and economic assistance to Ukraine. Yulian Haida, NPR News, Kyiv.
You're listening to NPR.
Start wars all the time.
President Biden is continuing his visits up and down the East Coast to talk about infrastructure. Today, he'll be in Philadelphia, where he will announce a $500 million investment to upgrade the city's water facilities. This will also replace nearly 20 miles of lead service lines. State lawmakers in Utah have introduced a range of bills this week that are intended to save the Great Salt Lake from drying up. NPR's Kirk Siegler reports scientists warn that climate change and rapid population growth could lead to the lake's demise within 5 years.
A bipartisan group of legislators is floating upwards of $500 million in spending, including measures that would encourage farmers to conserve more water and expansions of lawn removal programs in cities. State House Minority Leader Angela Romero represents neighborhoods in Salt Lake City's West Valley by the receding lake.
I hope we're not looking at 5 years, because I'm just really worried about what that means for the future of Utah, but also the future of the neighborhoods and the health of the people who live in the neighborhoods that I represent.
Scientists are warning that windstorms off a dried-up lake bed would kick up toxic dust. The saline lake contains high levels of mercury and other toxins. Kirk Siegler, NPR News.
The Dallas Police Department says officers have arrested a man in connection with 2 missing monkeys from the Dallas Zoo. The monkeys were found unhurt. There have been several unusual incidents at the Dallas Zoo recently, including a leopard that briefly escaped through a cut fence. I'm Corva Coleman. NPR News.
Somebody's trying to free the
This
animals.
message comes from NPR sponsor VMware. Make the most of multiple clouds with VMware's cross-cloud services. Accelerate
If they're anything like
innovation
my bunny
and
rabbit,
transform
they'd rather
business.
just stay there and
VMware,
eat
the
there
smarter way to cloud.
sleep there.
Learn more at VMware.com.
That's probably why they're
Listen to
easily
this
found.
podcast sponsor-free on Amazon Music with a Prime membership
Sure,
or any
they enjoy the
podcast
freedom
app by
running around for a few
subscribing
minutes
to
when they
NPR
realize
News
that
Now Plus at
things that can hurt them out there,
plus.npr.org.
they go back
That's
to their
plus.npr.org.
In weather. In Seattle, there's a wind advisory in effect Friday, February 3rd from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. The current weather
Like
is
a chicken.
43 degrees
Goes
Fahrenheit
always
with cloudy
back to the coop
skies.
because there's safety in
Today,
it.
you can expect showers, with a high of 49 degrees and a low of 45 degrees. From NASA. La NASA ha nombrado al astronauta
La
veterano
NASA.
Joe Acaba jefe de la Oficina de Astronautas del Centro Espacial Johnson de la Agencia. Veterano condecorado de múltiples vuelos especiales, así como ex marina estadounidense y executor. Acaba es la primera persona de ascendencia hispana seleccionada para dirigir la oficina. NASA has appointed veteran astronaut Joe Acaba as chief of the astronaut office at the agency's Johnson Space Center in Houston. A decorated veteran of multiple spaceflights, as well as former U.S. Marine and former educator, Acaba is the first person of Hispanic heritage selected to lead the office.
Nice.
On behalf of President Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris awarded former NASA astronauts Douglas Hurley and
Watch
Robert
that
Benton
medal.
the Congressional
Watch it.
Space Medal of Honor Tuesday
They
for their
awarded it to
bravery
you.
in
Watch
NASA's
it. Get that back
SpaceX
car
demonstration
off.
mission
Burn some
2,
incense,
Demo 2,
something.
to the International Space Station in 2020.
Have a smudging? I don't know.
When it comes to NASA, most people look to the skies as rockets, rovers, and astronauts push the boundaries of space exploration. But the benefits of going above and beyond can be found here on Earth through products and services born from NASA innovation.
Oh, well, if it's found here on Earth, then we don't need them to
NASA
travel
has
out in
awarded a
space.
modification to
Save the
extend the
money.
period of performance of the Goddard Logistics and Technical Information 2, GLTI-2, services contract with Trax International Corporation of Las Vegas. That's all for your flash briefing.
Okay, I feel briefly flash. Alright, Amazon. Tell us a joke. Joke? Amazon. Tell us a joke.
What do you call an X-Wing pilot who does too many barrel rolls? Puke Skywalker.
Okay. I don't know about that, but alright. Enjoy. Maybe that's a Star Wars joke. Have a beautiful day.